we are moving to our next topic here, that is foundation. So we know that in any structure in civil engineering, the final part of the structure or the final part through which the load is transmitted after slab, beam, column, if we are talking about a building, that is our foundation. And what does this foundation do? It transmits the load to the earth below. Now this earth can be of two things. It can be of soil and it can be of rock. Rock is a very rare thing, so we need not, or we are not concerned about that here. We are concerned about the soil because its capacity to carry this load is very low. It means it requires large area to carry these loads. So we need to better understand the behavior of the soil. How is it going to work after we place our foundation? So for that, this unit is here. Now foundations are of two types, that is shallow foundation and deep foundation. So how do we decide this? If this is the foundation and this is ground level, if this is the depth of foundation and this is the width of foundation, then if df by b is less than equal to 1, it is a shallow foundation, and if df by b is greater than 15, then it's a deep foundation. So first here we'll see cover the shallow foundation, and then we'll see the deep foundation also. So first let's see the types of shallow foundation. First type is strip footing. What is a strip footing? When there is a wall as a superstructure, so for carrying the load of a wall, the strip footing is considered. So its length to width ratio is very high. So this side, this is L and this is B. So L by B is very large. So we'll put a wall here, it will carry the whole wall. So in that case, the strip footing is considered. After that, next is isolated footing. Isolated footing is made to carry the load from a individual column. If this is a column, this one is the column, so we apply the load and this is a footing. That is isolated footing. After that, next is combined footing. So when there is space constraint, if there is not sufficient space to provide two footings separately, so for that this combined footing is provided. So what is done, if two columns are there or two or more than two columns are there, so for that these connected footing is provided. This is called as combined footing, or it can be of trapezoidal shape also, like this. After that, next is raft or mat foundation. When the bearing capacity is very low, that means the soil cannot carry much load, then it means that we need very large area to carry these loads. So what is done in that case, the whole structural area or the area in which the construction is done, so let's say these are the columns, so all these columns are provided on a single footing, or we call it as the raft or mat. So this is the mat over which we provide our columns. Also these columns will transfer this whole load to the single raft. It is also used when there is a possibility of differential settlement. So differential settlement means that one column or one part of the structure is going to settle more. In that case, we prefer raft foundation. So the choice among these foundation depends on many factors. such as what is going to be the magnitude of loads and what is the type of soil or the type of superstructure. So we are mostly interested in the type of soil here. So when we consider a foundation or we construct a foundation, there we need to satisfy the foundation which we are constructing. It needs to satisfy three criteria. What are those criteria? First one is location and depth. After that, shear failure criteria, which is also called as the bearing capacity criteria. And the last one is settlement criteria. So location and depth means that it should be located appropriately, so it is not affected by the weather or by the swelling shrinkage property of the soil, or if some frost heaving is there, so it should not be affected by that. So the minimum depth to which the foundation should be constructed is 50 centimeter. So this is the minimum depth. So if this is the foundation, so from here this depth should be at least 50 centimeter. We are mostly interested in the remaining two parts, that is shear failure criteria and the settlement criteria. So we will see them. So before going further, there are some terms that we need to understand. So first we are looking here more about the shear failure criteria. So we'll understand what is the bearing capacity and how do we find that and all those things. The first term which we need to see here is the gross pressure intensity. Gross pressure intensity means the pressure due to total load, and this total load would include the weight of superstructure, self weight of footing, and the weight of soil fill over the footing. So if we construct a isolated square footing, so this side is B and depth is df and unit weight is gamma and area would be b square for a square footing. Let's say the load due to superstructure and self weight of footing is P. So the gross pressure intensity can be given as P by B square. This is the pressure due to this superstructure and self weight. That is the weight we are putting on the soil. And third part is this weight of soil fill over the footing. So what would be this weight of the soil which is there in this part? So it would be equal to, so we can understand it like this. So before construction we would make a hole of this square size which is equal to the size of this footing, that is equal to b square, and into depth of footing is the volume of this hole multiplied by the unit weight of the soil would give us the weight of this soil. Now after constructing the footing we will place back this soil here. So the pressure due to this soil would be weight of the soil divided by area, that is gamma df. So gamma df is the pressure due to the soil which was there already before. Now our next term is net pressure intensity. So as I said, this gamma df was there even before the construction of this footing or the construction of this structure. So it means that there will be no deformation due to this part because it was already existing on the soil. Whatever the deformation is going to be there, it will be due to the excess load. Excess load that was not there before, which is this part. So that is our net pressure intensity. It is equal to gross pressure intensity minus gamma dF, which is the overburden pressure. It is also called as overburden pressure. So we can define it as the pressure intensity or the pressure above and over which was there before construction of the structure. Before construction. So it is equal to Qn, we can write as Qg minus gamma dF, and Qg is equal to P by B square plus gamma dF minus gamma dF. So Qn is equal to P by B square. So this is our actual load due to which deformation will take place, and that is our net pressure intensity. Now having understood that, our next part is ultimate bearing capacity. So these two definitions what we covered here, gross pressure intensity and net pressure intensity, these include or these indicate what the pressure intensity we are putting on the soil. Now our next definitions would include what is the capacity of our soil. So first definition is ultimate bearing capacity. So it is the maximum gross intensity of loading that the soil can take before failure. Soil can carry before failing in shear. So it is also important that we are putting this for shear. It denotes the shear criteria, that is ultimate bearing capacity, because other criteria is the settlement criteria, and for that there is different definition. So these bearing capacities are for shear. Now the next one is net bearing capacity, or we denote it as net ultimate bearing capacity. So net ultimate bearing capacity is the maximum net intensity of loading that the soil can take before failing in shear. So rest of the part is from here, but it is the maximum net intensity of loading. And how do we denote the net intensity of loading? Let's say the ultimate bearing capacity is denoted with Qu, then net ultimate bearing capacity, which is denoted with Nu, Qnu, which would be equal to Qu minus gamma dF. So earlier we saw that what is the difference between gross and net. In net we deduct the overburden pressure because it was there already before the construction. Now our next definition is net safe bearing capacity. So net safe bearing capacity would be the net ultimate bearing capacity divided by some factor of safety, because we will not provide our structure with this net ultimate bearing capacity. We always take some factor of safety. So dividing our net ultimate bearing capacity by factor of safety would give us the net safe bearing capacity, that is QNS. So from here it is equal to Qu minus gamma dF upon factor of safety. After that, our next definition is gross safe bearing capacity. And gross safe bearing capacity is the maximum gross intensity of loading that the soil can transfer safely. So it is a gross intensity of loading, and we are talking about safety. So here the factor of safety will come, and for gross term the overburden pressure would come. So we denote it with QS, and it is equal to net safe bearing capacity plus overburden pressure. So it is equal to Q net ultimate bearing capacity divided by factor of safety plus gamma df. So here we are not using any factor of safety for gamma df, that is overburden pressure, because this was existing already, so the soil can take it. It will not create any deformation, as I said, so it will use in full. So all these terms what we discussed till now are related to shear failure. So this gross safe bearing capacity is a maximum gross intensity of loading that the soil can transfer safely before failing in shear. Similarly, net safe bearing capacity is the maximum bearing, or we can say maximum safe capacity that the soil can take before failing in shear. So all are related with shear. Now we need to see some definitions. Only one definition is there, but which is due to the settlement criteria. So first is, so the definition number is 7th. So it is safe bearing pressure. The safe bearing pressure is the maximum net intensity of loading that the soil can take before, or we can say maximum net intensity of loading the soil can carry without excessive settlement. So this defines our settlement limit, and for our design purpose we need to take the minimum of settlement criteria and shear criteria. So for that the last definition is given as, that is the 8th one, it is allowable bearing pressure. So allowable bearing pressure is the minimum of safe bearing pressure and net safe bearing capacity. So we'll take the minimum intensity or the minimum capacity of these two, that is from the settlement criteria and from the shear criteria, and we'll use that as our allowable bearing pressure, and that is also used by the IS code, and it is denoted as allowable, or it is called as allowable bearing capacity. These were all the definition related to bearing capacity. Now we can see one more point. So we defined the net pressure intensity earlier, which we denoted as Qn, and it is equal to gross pressure intensity minus gamma df. And with the figure, if we want to represent, so gross pressure intensity is due to the total load, that is if it is P, this is B, this is df, and unit weight is gamma, then Qg is equal to, if the soil is there, then Qg is equal to P by B square plus gamma df. So from here Qn is equal to P by B square. Now if I say that after constructing the footing we do not place back this soil, then what would be the Qg? Qg would be equal to P by B square, because in total load only this excess load is there. So Qg is P by B square, and Qn would be equal to P by B square minus gamma df. So from here we see that if the overburden pressure, if we do not put this soil back, then this pressure intensity, that is net pressure intensity on the soil, is reduced up to some extent, and it is actually reduced up to a large extent if this depth of footing is very large. So this net pressure intensity is reduced, then we can say if the load carrying capacity, or in general the net safe bearing capacity of the soil is low, which is the case with clayey soils, so we can use this thing. So what is done in that case, a raft is constructed such that this Qn is equal to 0. So Qn is equal to 0, in that case P by square minus gamma dF is equal to 0. It means that we place the load on the footing or on the soil such that it is equal to the overburden pressure. So whatever we have removed from the site, we can say we have just put the equal amount of load or just put the equal amount of pressure. It means that this pressure was already existing on the soil, and that is the same amount of pressure we are applying now. It means that there is no additional pressure, or we can say the soil will not feel any pressure or any stress, or we can say any excessive stress, because this is the stress which was there already. And so in this case, this raft, it is called as compensated or floating raft, for which the pressure intensity due to the overall load of superstructure and weight of this raft is equal to the overburden pressure. So we are not putting any extra amount of load, so there will not be any stress on this soil. So that is the compensated or floating raft.